Hey everybody, welcome to Dad Talk. Today we are live at Turning Point in Tampa, Florida. And I have here Mr. Robert Fisher with us. Robert, how you doing?
I'm doing pretty well. How are you doing?
Doing good. So guys, I said that the answer to our problems relies on the next generation that's coming up. And I got to tell you, I never spoke to anyone as knowledgeable on this situation as Robert. Robert, you're 16 years old?
I am.
And tell everybody a little bit about yourself and what you do before we get into this.
So great to be with you all on Dad Talk. I'm happy to see a future generation of people being able to watch these broadcasts and being able to learn. I'm actually the chairman of our Teenage Republicans in Bergen County, as well as our incoming high school director for our Mid-Atlantic region, which is New Jersey and most of Pennsylvania, for Turning Point USA, trying to wake up some young people and make the future generation the now and the present.
Robert, tell everybody where you think the fatherless issue started. Let's get into the origins and some of the history of it.
Well, it's difficult to explain to a lot of young people because unfortunately a lot of young people haven't been able to see the real presence of fathers in society. We've all grown up, people my age, in an era after the sexual revolution and after third wave feminism, second wave feminism. They really haven't seen a system where a large portion of mothers aren't married to the government. But if we really look at the start of all these problems, the destruction of the family does go back to the 1960s. And that's when, all the changes in society started really happening that affected us on a very social level. If we look back 100 years, society as a whole was not plagued by these problems. A lot of people were, that's no doubt, but overall society, despite the fact that revolutions were happening, despite the fact that governments were changing, the family stayed intact. But there were people out there with an agenda to destroy the family, and they've tried their best. But young people, it's important to realize that we can take back the family one person at a time, one family at a time. We just have to look at the history.
Hey Robert, you talk about the first, the second, the third wave of feminism. Explain the differences in those and what consequences it's had on our society.
Well, the first wave of feminism, if we're being honest, was a group of people who were actually looking to help fathers and help sons and help daughters by giving women the right to vote and standing up on issues that were important to families at the time, like making sure that alcohol would not be something that could damage families even further. Obviously, prohibition was one extreme of that, but if we're looking at the early wave of feminism, really 1910s, we're looking at people who were looking to get the right to vote to help advance families, to help make families a better structure, trying to structure families in a better way, and trying to make things better. Unfortunately, as feminism went on, it became a movement that ate its own. It got more and more radical. It stopped focusing on families and started focusing on empowering, quote unquote, women of the future. But women's power is not gained by trying to act like men. Women's power is gained by being strong women. And a strong woman is a woman that votes. A strong woman is a woman that fights for her family. A strong woman is a woman that provides for her children just like a man does. But it's not the same role. We're different for a reason, and it's important for all women to know that your virtue and your ability to be a great person, a great mother, does not come from the fact that you can act like a man, as feminism has told you that you have to. You don't do the same things as a man for a reason. Men can't do some things women can't do, and vice versa, and that's a beautiful gift from God. It's not something that was a deficiency.
I will say this. Before the show, when we were talking to you, right, you were with a group of your friends, and I love how you know your history. And it's lost that you have to know the history if you're going to change going forward, if you're going to have a good impact on the future. And you know all this. And, I said, my generation screwed up, right? My parents' generation screwed up. That we had this great generation back in World War II that would probably turn them in the graves if they saw what's going on right now. So how is it that you are at young age, 16 years old, did you take it upon yourself to educate yourself on all this, or is it something that you learned through the schools?
Unfortunately, the schools were no part of this. I think that a large portion of just me being able to look at things empirically. One of the big things that this country was founded on was empiricism. The idea that we have to learn from our own experiences. And you look at what's taught you in the schoolhouse, if you look at what's taught in public schools, go in the opposite direction. When I really started to look into these issues, it was because I decided that I wasn't going to take what I had been seeing and the results that I had been coming up with. I decided that I needed to take initiative, and I needed to be the one to say, hey, we have to move in an opposite direction. It's not the schools that are going to be teaching the right thing, because unfortunately generations have screwed up. and they've let the school system fall to the left, which was a major mistake. Lenin once said, "Give me a child for 4 years and I'll plant a seed that can never be uprooted." We need to plant a seed of justice. We need to plant a seed of truth. We need to plant a seed of faith, because that's all faith is the truth. Assent of our hearts and our minds to the truth.
You know, finding someone your age that knows these issues is so rare. Kind of tell us, you know, we was speaking a little bit about this, but I want our audience to hear it. How would you suggest for us that are out there trying to get some solutions to these issues, Robert, how would you suggest us reach out to the youth?
It's important to look at young people and the experiences that they've had. You have young people who have large portions of their income that work a job taken out of tax. You have large portions of young people who don't have a father in the home. You have large portions of young people who have to deal with them not being trusted, even though they might be very virtuous themselves. It's important to look at young people as the agents for the future and the people who are going to make big changes. Don't ever underestimate or dismiss them. Cleopatra was running Egypt at 20 years old when kids these days are sophomores in college. So it's important to realize that young people have a lot of potential. They just have to be steered the right way. It's not a matter of being stupid or smart. It's a matter of asking the right questions and growing from your experiences.
Let me ask you this. So your generation has the highest percentage of kids that are growing out without their dads in the home. So what are some of the differences that you see with your friends, between your friends who are raised by both parents and then the friends maybe who are with divorced parents who don't have their dads in the houses?
Well, I will say it's not always a trend that I think is set, because unfortunately, a lot of the ones that grow up in two-parent households are ones where their parents are always at work, or they're always doing things to try and acquire more wealth or acquire more prestige at work. And those are the kids that a lot of the times you see doing things that they shouldn't be doing because they don't have the influence of right parents. I'd say that you look at a lot of the single-parent households, and those are a lot of the households that don't work out well, but then there's ones that you can look at it and you could say intrinsically, hey, I think that whatever parent is raising them is trying to prevent them from becoming the next statistic, that they understand that this is not natural, they understand that this is out of order. And those are the parents that we really need to encourage. It's not just about having both parents in the household, it's having them both be constructive. I was talking to an old Boy Scout leader a while ago about one of the towns that he used to volunteer in. It was more of a white-collar town. He came from a blue-collar town. And one of the biggest things he noticed about the parents from the white-collar town is they saw the Boy Scouts as a way to get their kids off their backs, whereas the ones from the blue-collar town saw it as a way to interact with their children. And the blue-collar town kids were doing what they were supposed to be doing. They were getting educated and they were getting good jobs. And the white-collar town, even though they grew up with more, they weren't doing what they were supposed to be doing. A lot of them ended up on the street. It's all about raising your children the right way. And there's plenty of stories to say it.
Yeah. And, I mean, I don't think you would have 2 or 3 kids. We don't know. I mean, you're 16. But, no, I'm just talking about these issues. You're not a father yet. Why is this such an important issue? You're obviously knowledgeable on this. Why does this matter for young men your age to know what's going on with these issues as a dad?
Well, you're going to have to live in that world. You're going to have, most people eventually are going to have children. Most people do. You're going to have to deal with what they're going to be taught in schools. You're going to have to deal with what they're going to be taught by the government. You're going to have to deal with what they're taught by their friends. At the end of the day, you want them being around good company. You want their friends to be nice people with good parents. You want their future spouse to be somebody you want good in-laws to have. At the end of the day, we all lose when the family loses.
That's a very mature perspective, because not only do you have to live with the consequences of your decisions, but we now know we have to live with the consequences of other people's decisions, right? So if other people make bad decisions and they're raising children who aren't healthy, that affects society as a whole, right? Prison rates go up, delinquency rates go up. So what advice would you give to young men and teenagers out there who are listening to you, and I know they're impressed with you? How do they get involved, and how do they become educated if these things aren't second nature to them?
Read good books, try and ask the right questions, question everything you see. Even if it's something that you think is perfectly good, just ask questions about why it's there, why it should be there, or maybe something different. You just have to take it from a perspective of being able to ask the right questions, being able to look at what's important, and being able to set your priorities. At the end of the day, always look to do things that can enhance your future. Always look for a better opportunity. Always look for the right friends to hang out with. Always look for the better people to surround yourself with, even if they're adults. Surround yourself with mentors.
That's right.
Whether you're in the Boy Scouts, whether you're in another fraternal club, whether you're playing a sport, whether you're just in a Model UN or something like that in school. Always look to enrich yourself and always look to have experiences that will enhance your value. Because at the end of the day, we're all in the same hotel. Some people are checking in and checking out, but the people who are going to have the best days are the ones who have what they need to succeed.
Robert, what are some of the ways that you think like our education system has really pushed that feminist narrative?
Well, unfortunately, it's teaching a lot of women that the only way that they have value, as I said before, is to act like a man. You know, empowering women isn't down to them wearing the shortest skirts or them wearing the highest tops. At the end of the day, an empowered woman is somebody who can say, I have these great children that I've raised, I have this great family. You might have a great job, I don't know, but at the end of the day, the core of human beings is procreation. That's the first thing that a marriage should be about, is about raising great children who can serve the same Lord that you serve by having those children. That's the way that young people make up for the sins of their youth, is by having fantastic children that are going to pass on the message. At the end of the day, you should look at the sins of youth and blush. You should look at the sins of adults and weep, because they have to be taught the right way. And it's all about teaching.
You guys.
The next president of the United States later on, I could see it.
How impressive is this guy?
Yeah, dude.
Oh
I don't even know what else to say.
I know.
I mean, dude.
I know it. You're schooling us. You know.
You really are.
It's all about reading. It's all about enhancing experiences. It's all about making the most of what you've got. Because even if you're not in a great situation at the moment, even if you've got liberal professors or liberal teachers that are only assigning left-wing books, it can be you that asks the question that changes somebody's mind. And sometimes I've changed people. I've had educators change their mind because of what I've been able to ask them. It's not about somebody not being smart. It's never been that way. There's plenty of smart people who happen to have the wrong ideas. The people we have to worry about are not the people who have a good heart but a bad brain. The people we have to worry about are the ones that have good brains and bad hearts.
That's right.
Robert Fisher, everybody. Watch that name. I think you're going to see some big things. Young man, thank you for stopping by and talking to us today.
Yeah, absolutely.
Thank you.
Hey everybody, Eric Carroll here. Thank you for tuning in to another exciting episode of Dad Talk Today. While we fight for you, we would ask for you to please help fight for us. Like, subscribe to our channel, and ring that bell so you get notifications every time we go live. There's also super chats, patreon.com/dadtalktoday, and other ways you can support our channel. Thank you for being here, and we will see you next time.